What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the TRÜF Life Podcast. It's Tyren Johnson, the host of the podcast. You guys know me, 10-year professional playing in France. And on this podcast, we talk about everything dealing with life, not just sports, but just everything dealing with life. And today we got a special guest, one of my best friends, one like my sister. Her name is Kaya Pickens. And
Hey.
so KK is one of those girls that I talk about any and everything with, and unapologetically we give each other our opinion. And this podcast is kind of everyone that followed this podcast kind of agree with me, like in my tribe. And I want y'all to know that one of my superpowers is that I live with handling rejection, and I see other people's perspective. And Kay is a person that always give me a different perspective. So I wanted to bring her on the show so that she can bring some value to you, because I feel like she's one of the smartest people in my life. And so Kay,
thanks, Ty.
give everybody a quick introduction of who you are and what you do so we can get on with the tough questions.
Okay, well, my name is Kaya. I guess Instagram, you don't know Kaya with periods in between each word. And I recently found my purpose of, love you can see and perspective you can hear. So it's just crazy that we were able to connect on this level right now. But like Tyren said, we're overdue for a good debate. So I'm excited to be a part of this show. And let's get going.
Yeah. This disclaimer, we're gonna have Kay on multiple shows. So I'm not asking her, I'm kind of telling her, because we go back and forth all the time. But it's the very few people I go back and forth with, because it don't get emotional and we don't fight and we actually listen to each other more than just scream at each other. So the first topic is about generalizations. And the crazy thing is you wanted me to comment on your poll and on your latest Instagram poll. And I was like, this is one of the topics I was talking about. It's the generalizations of people put on in questions that they ask in society. It's like her latest poll question was, do guys plan better trips, or do women plan better girl trips and guy trips? Was that?
Right. And so it actually came from a guy friend of mine who's right now on a guy trip. And he's just like, I like traveling with y'all better because these they still in the bed and they talk about, oh, let's drink, and we haven't even eaten yet. Like, where's the brunch at? Where is, so I'm just like, okay, where are the guy planners? What are your opinions? Like, do you think girl trips are better or guy trips are better? So I'm getting some really good feedback, but majority of people are saying girls. But
yeah, for sure. Because the majority of the people are going on, I would say like a majority of the people that are saying that are going on trips with people that don't have the same ideas in life as them. So of course they're going to say the opposite side. So that's why I hate generalizations, because my guy trips, bro, we planning. We're going to catch the sunset with some photos, and we're going to food, and then I go with another group of guys and they just want to go straight to the club and stay the whole time. So it depends on who you with. So these questions don't really have real answers.
Right. No questions really do, because all of them are subjective. But we're going to talk about some perspectives based off of, I guess, our experiences and things like that. It's hard to generalize.
I just don't like when the people just try to say, like, this is definite. Like, guys are way worse than women and women are way worse than guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's all based off of our personal experiences. And so, especially when it comes to like memes and things like that, oh, black people do this, chicks do this, fellas do this. And sometimes they word us as BITGHs or, whatever. And I just mentally just block that out because that don't apply to me. So, but it's definitely a lot of generalizations. And I figured, we can either accept that people have this in their lingo and their ideal and perspective. Or, you know, we can kind of try to change that.
So am I wrong? Because I battle this now. Am I wrong? Like, I'm very careful of the word. That's why I say I'm sorry.
No, and I am too. You're not wrong.
Okay, because
but a lot of people are not. A lot of people are not careful about the words. They don't listen to particular words in your conversations. Like, it's very, because I put a lot of time in the words that I choose to say, like, or a lot of thought in them. And so if I do say something that I didn't really mean, I'll recant and try to restate. But for the most part, like, especially when I'm writing or something, like, I'm definitely putting thought into each word that I choose to say. And a lot of people skim over that and already have an idea of what they think you're trying to say. So.
Right. Okay, well, I just needed to get that different perspective, because I refuse to say women or men. I always say people.
Yeah. People or some men or the people that I've dealt with, exactly. Or my experience. Yeah. And a lot of times when I see those generalizations, I'm like, I'm sorry that you've had to deal with this, but that hasn't been my experience. So, you know.
Right. I got you. Let's get to, I don't know how to really ask the question, because it's kind of a touchy one, and I get a lot of flack for it, because I'm all about getting to athletes, since I'm an athlete, when they're fresh out of college or when they're fresh out of their mom's house, and they enter this great big world, and all they know how to do is dribble a ball or throw a football and catch a baseball or something like that.
Yep.
And they go women crazy. I would, from the guys end. I'm not gonna speak from the women's perspective, because I never had that experience. But on the guys end, the guys that I've been around for as athletes that I've been around, they go very women crazy, and it leads to a lot of heartbreak. It leads to a lot of wasted time. I've seen guys' career end.
Wasted money.
Yes. So my advice, I tell guys, especially whenever they become pros, to pay for the women. I tell them pay for the women, and I tell girls that come up to me, because girls speak to me a lot, and I tell them, are they successful in life? And if you're successful in life, then you do whatever you choose to do. Nobody's wasting your time, because you're having fun. But if you broke and you just having random sex with multiple guys, it's like, you should probably start charging. Like,
so one caveat from that statement, I remember seeing on Trash TV, a reality show, that there was this guy who was sleeping with two women or multiple women, and they both ended up pregnant by him, and and they were smart girls, but instead, of course, they were, well, not of course, because not every woman is like this, but they were bickering with each other instead of holding the male accountable, and cutting him loose, because he clearly couldn't be faithful. But the outside girl was like, hey, you out here basically giving him everything he wants, and he not giving you nothing in return. Like, the least you can do is get your bills paid.
The least. Exactly.
So, and then I remember this other conversation with a really good friend of mine who was an NFL player. And he was like, I'm raising my daughter to go after, or at least only deal with guys with money. And so it's crazy to hear that, because then, a woman who has already made up her mind based off of her experiences to do that, she gets called a gold digger and things like that. But he was like, I would rather her go through crazy things with a guy that could provide a roof over her head, or like be stable in some sort, than a guy that's still, she dealing with the same stuff on top of money problems and stuff like that. And it was just crazy that he said that, because I was like, you know what? you might have a point. Like, but I think, especially in our community, we look for, especially if you have a kind heart, people are attracted to healers and, helpers and things like that. And so when a woman tries to find a mate, then or a lover, it's kind of complicated for her because, she wants somebody that's basically going to end up needing her. And that's not, in my opinion, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But this is a whole nother can of conversation. So yeah, but anyway, the least that they could do is get their bills paid if they're just giving him whatever. But yeah,
but I can't let the NFL players skip out on it. I can't.
I know.
So he said that he would rather her go through stuff with a rich guy or a guy who got something going for himself than go through something with a guy that don't have anything going for himself.
Yep, that's what he said.
But she's still going through it.
Right. So that's not the bigger picture. That's just him saying that, hopefully she doesn't have to go through anything, but he would much rather her deal with the issues of trying to help a man that has something rather than trying to help a man and pay for your own stuff and probably pay for his stuff and, that type of stuff. So, I mean, I was like, you know what? That's very interesting. Okay.
We definitely coming back because I got a question with something that went viral, and that's going to be the last question. But
okay.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it threw me for a loop too because I'm like, this is coming from a guy who's pretty much a millionaire, and you would rather somebody coming after you or at least being attracted to you because of your money. But hey, everybody,
That question, well, we might as well get to it right now since it's
okay. Let's go there.
Like the guy that went viral, I think his name is Kevin Samuels. The guy who was telling the girl you're average at best.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I see, the feminist movements, then the masculinist movements. So I see they're coming at him for, I think, giving her some of the best advice I've ever heard.
I think he had points. I think that we're forgetting a caveat of that because his summary was basically you think of yourself and we see you as an average girl, which was like on a scale from 1 to 10, a 5 to 6, right? And he said basically you're asking for or you're wanting someone that makes 6 figures, right? Let's be honest, 6 figures isn't that much in today's time. His response was like she was asking for a millionaire, right? And so when it comes down to, ratings, I guess, you can find a 1 or 2 that's a 6-figure person, and they might be looking for a 5 or 6, right? Because they know if they shoot for 8 or 9, they're going to get taken by a 5 or 6 dude, Mm-hmm. So it's just like, we're forgetting that 6 figures isn't that much. And then there's a whole nother set to observe here. Like, yeah, you can say, okay, you're shooting too high, but who's to say that? Like I do appreciate his honesty and his rawness when, telling her that, but I'm hoping she shows him wrong. I'm just, like if that's what she wants, honestly, like, and I wouldn't call myself a feminist. I am pro-female, but that doesn't mean anti-male, of course. But if that's what she wants, I think a lot of times women are strongly advised to settle. And that may look differently. Like for me, I don't really care about money, right? Yes, you have to have the good, sense to want to be stable and, provide for a family and things like that. But 6 figures, millionaire, all of those terms, like not important to me.
He said at the end before he hung up on it, he told her she'll die alone. And I think
That's rude.
it's rude, but I think she'll die alone too. Because
Seriously.
the root of which, it's like when people are trying to find love and they start off with body parts as something that they're attracted to. Oh, you got nice eyes. Like it's an eye, bro. Or like, oh, you got a pretty nose. What's a pretty nose? It's like
an attractive nose. I don't know. I've been told several times that my eyes are my most attractive feature.
It's something that society has taught us of what they have made cool and what they have made uncool. And it's like she's starting out, I want somebody with 6 figures.
Well, that's not how it started. And I wish I would have been able to see the entire interview, because what she said was, I guess what I'm saying is I need somebody that has 6 figures. Well, so she did a lot of explaining.
She wants a successful man. She wants someone
right
equal to her success professionally.
Right. So I think there was a lot more detail that was left off from the recording that probably could have been useful to us. But just like a couple of months ago, I think it was B. Simone that said she only wants to date a 6-figure guy because the lifestyles match up, and so that makes sense, like if you are a 6-figure person and you want a 6-figure guy, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you don't meet the requirements, just don't apply. You know what I mean? Like,
but from my experiences and me seeing life play out in the situations that I've been around, it never works out that way.
And that could be, but it should be her choice to choose to kind of dial back her standards as she sees fit. It shouldn't be based off of a conversation with a guy that barely knows her.
No, 100%. I forget her. This is a common statement for men and women. Like dudes, I'll be like, yo, I want I want Meg Thee Stallion. But, bro, you make less than $2,000. I mean, Johnson might not be crazy. Like, you can't really stimulate her mind in the way that she needs to be stimulated. So it's like, bro, your chances of getting a Megan Thee Stallion is 0.
Or slim.
A slim.
To none.
0.
I wouldn't say 0 because, it's no absolutes, right?
My thing is, even with her is whenever you start your quest to find your partner with, they have to be of something. I wouldn't have found the most beautiful thing I found, and I hate using myself as an example, but
we are not gonna call Yaya a thing.
No, I'm just saying. I know. Bad choice of words. But if I was to base it off of that, I wouldn't have never spoke to her, because she's more of a inside girl. She's not in the streets like that, and I mean, she's not making a ton of money, and I wouldn't have been able to see her. But it's like, I'm all about finding people that see the world the same way you do,
right?
From every aspect. That's the 6 figures. Like,
well, I'll say
that's the millionaire. That's actually the millionaire instead of the 6 figures. That's the millionaire. Whether he's making
because
40
6
grand.
figures isn't. I mean,
that's the millionaire. Let's say she said she wanted a millionaire. But if that person sees the world the same way she sees it, and her quest is to be a millionaire, to be very successful, that means that she'll attract someone that is doing the same things that she's doing. Right. It don't have to be professionally, but they have the same grit, the same grind, the same ideals. And he's working on his way to be up. He might not be there now, but he's working his way up. But if you gonna date somebody I understand what she's saying. If you find a guy that's making $30,000 a year and he's chilling playing video games all day, then I understand that. But you shouldn't even be talking to those guys anyway.
Exactly. And so that's why she said what she said. I think what I'm telling myself, or what I'm saying, and she probably had an epiphany during the interview, saying, you know what? I think what I'm saying is I need a 6-figure guy. Not necessarily saying it's a 6-figure guy, but someone that has some financial stability. And I don't think she meant that as an absolute, like, oh, I can't date someone that's like, that don't have 1,0,0,0,0,0.
But this is my thing. There was the second question you asked. He was like, if she had like a business and seems like she makes 6 figures. If she was working at Walmart, I don't want to talk about the Walmart people, but if she was making a lot of, if she was making less than 50 grand a year, would she be trying to get a 6-figure guy?
Some people are, but I will say this: there are men out there that like to go after these women who aren't really doing much because they want them to either end up being housewives or to take care of them and make their lives completely about them.
Exactly. That's why I said it doesn't make sense.
I mean, and so with that, she has even if she was working at Walmart and she said she wanted to have a 6-figure guy, that's on her. Because there might be a 6-figure guy that comes looking for or is attracted to her at Walmart when he's checking out one day and they hit it off and she ends up being a housewife.
But he's going to request her. They're not going to date. It's like it'll be hard for her to meet that person in the streets without him coming to her. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they won't be in the same circles.
So I just think,
but it's not impossible. No, and everybody has a right to their own standards. I just feel like a lot of times people are trying to make people do away with their standards based off of their experiences and not necessarily knowing what they've been through, what they've experienced, and what they built themselves up to be. Because I can sit here and say, I've said, you know what, I'm not dating somebody that makes below this certain amount anymore. Or I'm not dating a guy that's not emotionally immature. Of course, that's subjective. Like, we don't know what emotionally mature is, but I know what I need. And even if I can't put it into words, I know exactly what that looks like. So it may change a little bit. It may not, or it may come even better. She might find a millionaire. Who knows? Like, it might be a dude out here that has some kind of fetish with something that they give on her and give her the world. Like, so we're not in a position to just say, oh, you're not gonna ever find that, because they do.
I won't tell her what. I won't tell her or anybody what they should do or what they shouldn't do. I'll just tell them my experiences from what I've seen and my philosophy in life. And everyone don't have to agree with this, but my philosophy is mindset over material
things. Absolutely. And that's not saying she's not thinking of that too. Like, she might just be saying that the struggles that she's had with these guys she's dated were resulting in like some type of financial challenge.
But I think that's
for her to create a standard saying she's not going to go back down that road for that particular problem is just
the reason why I said she will die alone, like the guy, because you shouldn't. It's reflective of who you are. If you're dating guys that you went down that road with,
right? So now she's trying to do better. So I mean, what's wrong with her stating that?
That's not necessarily better though. Just because a dollar amount isn't better,
everything is subjective. But I'm not. We only got the end of her.
I'm not even just talking about that one statement. I'm not even talking about that one statement. I'm just talking about everything that she said from the interview was all material. Like, that don't mean better. It's like,
right.
You can find a great guy making 6 figures. You can also find a great guy making 20 grand.
Right.
Like, it's the quality of the person that you're talking to, but you got to have conversations. You got to ask questions. You're just going in with these expectations and thinking, oh, I found my Prince Charming because he opened the door for me. That'd be the issue with a lot of cases. And I just think, man, you can show a person will show you $1,000,000. A man or a woman will show you $1,000,000 before they, with their actions, before they show you with their dollars and what they say.
Absolutely.
That's just my
Absolutely. I think I mean, like I said, we don't really know but what we've seen in the video.
Right.
So, she may have other standards. It was just one that was spoken on.
Right. All right. Let's shift away from her a little bit.
Okay.
Because he also hit her with, he was like, what he said about, would you rate yourself? And he was something
like
about
5.
Yeah, 5 or 6. And he was like, what do you rate yourself when you wake up in the morning without all that stuff? And she was like, I'm the same. He was like, you wouldn't be wearing it if you was the same.
You want to talk about that?
Nah, we're gonna say that for another episode. Actually, we're gonna say that for another.
Because I know I'm dope. Yeah. So if somebody asks me what am I right now, I say about a 7-8, right? And if they ask me what I look like in the morning, I'm gonna say 7-8. Yeah, just because I know nobody's perfect, but at the end of the day, I know I'm dope, so I'm still that same person.
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask what to rate I think I'm a 10. I don't see nothing else.
But there's always room for improvement. When you say 10, that means you feel like your ass is perfect.
In the looks department, yes.
I'm not about to put
any other department. Hell no. In any other department, I got a bunch of growth. But in the looks department, for me, you asking me 10. I don't even know how to say nothing else.
So were we just talking about looks? Because when you ask me to rate myself, I'm talking about my whole person. If that's the case, I'm like a 9.
Yeah, he was just talking about because she had on a bunch of makeup and she had some weave in her head, I guess. And he was like, what do you look like without that? She was like, the same. He was like, no, you don't, because you wouldn't be wearing it.
Oh, Lord. So I wear it because I want to. Okay. But we could talk about that another day.
It does enhance us. But like I said,
it's supposed to. Like haircuts enhance y'all.
That's why it's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But
exactly.
We get a haircut for a reason. We admit to that. I just want y'all to admit to it too. Let's get to this one. Is real near and dear to my heart because a lot of my friends fall victim to it. I've lost a lot of relationships to it, and I just wanted to end. Like not end.
Okay.
It never would end. But I want us to stop living this fictitious life that does not exist because life is so precious, man, and it's so fast, but yet it's so long. Like, what advice would you give to a young male, young woman, a person that's growing up in the communities we come from? When you hear the phrase, I'm keeping it real, or I'm staying solid, I'm a real nigga. I think that's one of the worst phrases we've ever adopted in our communities.
See, oh my God, this is gonna be a little bit to unpack because for one, I stopped, once I understood that majority people have challenges with comprehension and word usage, like trends and things like that, so they catch on to things and not really dissect what's in me. So I stopped really paying attention to the things that people say in the moment, but it depends on what context is being used. So if somebody, go ahead.
No, it's just like, man, I've lost friends in the last 2-3 years because I'm like, bro, I'm not riding with you. Like, we're going to ride in different cars because I know you got a pound of weed on you and possibly a tool. I'm searching you before you get in my car.
Right.
Because I've worked my whole life
You got things to lose.
Yeah, I got a lot to lose. And for you to be up here just having a gun on you or having a bunch of weed on you and laughing about it, I'm like, bro. He's like, man, we real niggas. I'm like, what does that that even mean? Like it makes me not real because I want to protect what I've worked for my whole life.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's like, oh, if somebody shoot Kaya and I see them, bro, I'm telling the cops.
Right.
They're like, yo, you snitching, you rat. I'm like, bro, I don't subscribe to the street life, whatever you call it, bro. I'm ratting, bro. What do you mean?
So unfortunately, Tyren, I have to say this. We will not be debating on this subject because I 100% agree with you. For one, I always give my friends, whoever I'm around, a disclosure.
Yeah.
I'm snitching. If it comes between me and my freedom or breaking down the things that I've, accomplished in my life, me or you, it's going to be you every time. Now, if it's something like simple, like me, I'm pretty sure both of us have, but taking an L on paying for stuff, that type of stuff, that's no-brainers. But when it comes down to a livelihood decision, it's you every time. I'm snitching, So, like, I remember this episode of Friends where Joan and Tony and, the group of girlfriends, my bad. But they got into a fight outside the club, and Joan was like, I'm going to call the police. And Tony, her best friend, was mad at her because she didn't jump in the fight.
Yeah, come on.
And she was like, I'm a lawyer. Like, what am I going to do in this case? Like, for one, I can't fight. For two, what does it look like for me professionally to be fighting out here and then catch a case and the police come and all this other stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I'm that friend.
So that's a good one. It's like one of my homeboys, he went back to his hometown. He's fresh from overseas, don't know what's going on. He's around some guys that he grew up with, and they got beef with another guy. They start fighting. He doesn't jump in, and he's calling my phone like, bro, what do I do? Like, everybody's calling me fake. They're saying I ain't real. They're saying I'm a bitch. And I'm like, bro, guess what? You aren't real. You're a bitch. Whatever they want to call you.
Right. That's where you separate yourself.
Right, because you need to get the hell away from them if they wanted you to risk everything
that you work for.
You're supposed to not be touched. You know what I'm saying? So
if anything, your real friends will want to keep you out of that situation.
I'm like, bro, a lot of guys fall victim to that in the name of being real, whatever that means. Yeah. It's like Vlad TV, which I don't really like, asked Boosie a question about him doing a versus battle with somebody, and Boosie was like, who am I gonna do the versus with? It's gonna be a swayed argument. I mean, it's gonna be a swayed debate because all of my fans dead or in jail. And he said this was pride. Like, he's like, yo, the people that mess with Boosie, man, they dead or in jail. They real steppers. Yeah. I'm like, just that talk that when you glorifying going to jail and dying.
Ignorant.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, Boosie's like, you from Louisiana. Boosie's
right. I love Boosie the artist.
But I see how that affects the generations, how that affects the communities, and these dudes just taking pictures like this, like with the middle fingers up,
or with money or guns,
and I'm like, who's going to invest in you? And I'm a self-made dude, but I'm like, to be self-made, you don't have no generational wealth, so you have to go to the streets. That's going to keep you in jail or die.
And the goal has always been to not have to hustle. And so you go and you enjoy this life of hustling, and then what? Your kids don't have no insurance. You ain't got no, you
got a bunch of chains, and you got
all of this for what?
And you got $5,000. That money.
If you live that life, you're supposed to do that temporarily, right? So that you can get yourself out of it. And I'm not promoting it or anything, but it's like the mentality of that being your lifestyle is just, it's dehumanizing because you're not even fulfilling your potential.
Yeah. It's so much. The world is. I just feel like coming from a place where slavery was so big. We got 3 slave plantations in my neighborhood. So I looked around. I'm like, the community were descendants of the slaves.
Yeah.
So the same mentality. I'm like, bro.
Mentalities, and then it gradually gets better the farther away from it you get, but it's just like you still have that root or that foundation of that
And if you
mentality.
stay there, you're just in the bubble.
Yep.
I want them to get out that bubble to understand that, bro. It's a big and better world out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All
For
right.
sure.
So we got to tackle this real nigga situation. um,
Seriously. And honestly, I need to stop because I'm a therapist. But I will say that I have some not unresolved, but I have some feelings about when I hear those things, and I'm just automatically like, ugh, you know, like, it makes me cringe. But I know that I have a duty or just a responsibility, and it might be self-imposed, it might be professionally imposed. But I have a responsibility to address things and help people see different perspectives. Whether they take it, that's not on me. But I know that I have the responsibility to bring it to their attention, whatever real is, and to dissect that and make them really step outside of the situation and see it for really what it really is.
right.
So
So, what do you think about? It's an American thing that I wish more people would realize that it's just an American thing. No place else in the world does this. When a kid turns 18, you just send them in the world. It's
yeah,
like you got to get out the house. You're gonna go to college, or you got to get out the house. 18, my job is done because the law says you're a man.
yep,
Where in some countries, I mean, the kids are out the house at 12. And in some countries, the kids are out the house at 40, and they go and start a.
I think it's cultural for sure. Even the culture, some cultures in America, you can see the difference. I remember when I was about 8, I had a a conversation with this Jewish family, um, and we were talking about just general stuff. But I overheard him talking to my family member, and he was basically saying like how their daughter isn't going to leave their house until she's married. And their son only has one chance to leave the house. So when he goes out, he can't come back. But while he's in the house, he's getting the education about finances and credit and what to do with your money and the fraction of what you need to spend versus your expenses and all types of things. He was like, your rent or your dwelling expenses shouldn't be more than a fourth of your income. A fourth. And America is teaching, like half maybe, or like a third or something like that, but a fourth. And I remember that. And I think that's why I'm able to, I still need some work, but I'm kind of able to stay. But it's just like those types of teachings we didn't necessarily have in our community because, and don't get me wrong, there are some very financially stable and savvy people in our community. However, the majority, when I'm talking about the majority, that teaching wasn't handed down to us because 9 times out of 10, they were trying to figure out how they were going to make ends meet. They were trying to figure out how to make more money. They were trying to figure out, where is this next going, or working for pennies on the dollar when someone else of a different background is, making way more doing the same thing. So it was a lot of things that played a part into those things, but it's just like cultures like that. If we thought some of the same ways as the other cultures where their kids didn't leave the house until they were ready, whatever ready looks like, right? That means you might have $50,000 to $100,000 in the bank because you're not going to rent, you're going to buy, right? Or you're leaving when you have XYZ checked off, right? Like, a lot of Americans don't think that way. It's like, oh, as soon as you start making money, even if you're 18 and you have a job at 18, you got to pay me rent. What? And so even the guys that I'm dating, I always have this conversation with them. If we ever have children, we get married and have children, we chose to have those children. So I'm never going to charge them rent. Now, I can make them some type of agreement that says you need to give me $200 every paycheck, and then that money, once they decide to move out, will go towards a down payment at their house. Like, that's my mentality. And having these conversations with these guys, sometimes they're like, yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes they're like, dang, I ain't never think about that. But it was our decision to bring them in the world. How are we going to charge them for providing a shelter over their head, after they finally get one job? And then you're taking their money so that they're not able to get as stable as they can before they leave the nest. And now they're frustrated because you're taking their money. They have to abide by their rules. Their growth is impeded because you're trying to make them fit into this picture of you. And now they want to leave, knowing that they're not ready. And then a year later, they have to come back because they can't afford to be by themselves. So
I look at it. I get a lot of flack because I come from traditional communities, and I don't believe in the school system. So I'm always saying that I'm going to homeschool my kids, and I get attacked. I get attacked viciously when I say they're not going to have a social life, and like attacked viciously. Then I talked about the whole, whenever my kid turned 18, not just pushing them out of the house. And me personally, I'm not going to charge him rent, but I'm going to charge him Airbnb. And I'm not really charging him Airbnb because 9 times out of 10, my kid's going to be working since 12 years old. Like, my whole life, I don't feel like I've ever worked, and I want my kids to feel the same way, that they don't ever have to work, because I got my finances in order, so that if they need a security blanket, I'm the security blanket, but still give them responsibilities so that they don't rely on Papa. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people
but you do work. You work, though. You work.
Yeah, work. I mean, I'm separated from my family for 10 months out of the year. Yeah. That's tough work. But it's like a lot of people attack me because they don't have their finances in order to give their kids options.
Right.
And that's my whole thing. And it's like, I'm not pushing my kids out at 18. Like, if my kid want to go out and go to college because he have a reason, okay. If you want to be a doctor or something, bro, you got to go to college for that. That's the recommendation. Right. But if you want to be a graphic designer, bro, you don't got to go pay $60,000 or $30,000 to do that.
Exactly. So I will say that I have to choose my words because I work in the school system. Mm-hmm. So I believe in the education, like you said. I don't necessarily believe in a lot of the structures in the systems because, for one, there are biases, or there are lots of biases. And for two, they may test on content that, for one, students may not be exposed to. You know what I mean? Like, if you ask me, like, I don't know, if you have a history class and they're teaching about these things that someone who doesn't have a TV, they're not able to be exposed to certain things, they don't have, all of these things, then, to test on that content is just, they're just basically regurgitating what you told them. Memorizing. Right? And that's not learning, so it's a lot of things that go into learning. So I believe in education. I believe that there are a lot of benefits in them going to school. But I do think that what you said, and as far as like exploring all options, is really important. And a lot of people aren't able to because they don't have the financial freedom to do so.
Right. It's like, it's not that when I say I don't believe in the school system, I don't believe in the school system for my kids.
Right.
But I think, school is needed. I tell most dudes, like, bro, go to school.
Yeah.
It's just if you're coming from Tyren Johnson, you won't need school.
Right. And so I think that's the big part. Like people needing school because, for one, if you're working a 9-to-5, then
need school, bro.
You need school. You're not working a 9-to-5, so nature and the world can be your children's, classroom.
When I tell them that's when the attacking comes. So I shut it down. And I got to be petty. I'd be like, well, if my kids learn how to grow their own food and know how to build their own houses, why do they need to work? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, they can eat for free. They can live for free. What else do they have to do? They have to get a job. For what? To buy material things? What if they're not into it? And so I was like, yo.
Because I will guarantee you, especially in America, majority of people who are working, most of their money goes towards their dwelling and food. Let's be honest.
I tell them the two most important things in life is a roof over your head and food in your body. You learn those two things, you are rich, my friend. But we still equate a piece of paper to success, which is the biggest misconception. Like, this is a tool. It's like a hammer and a screwdriver. Mm. It buys you comfort. It doesn't buy you happiness.
I think it definitely doesn't necessarily. I mean, maybe temporary satisfaction once you accomplish that, because you put in the work and dedication to achieve those things, and that should be celebrated. However, in the long term, that piece of paper opens doors to people who chooses to explore those job options. Like, if you didn't have to work, a lot of people wouldn't go to college. But a lot of people, that's all they've been exposed to: going to school, then getting a good job. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, this is the way of life. In order for me to get this good job, this is what their qualifications are, so I have to get that.
And that's what I want people, the whole TRÜF life is about freedom. Take respect until freedom, so that, meaning living life actively, trying to find out who you truly are, so you can create your own freedom. And learning that, bro, you might need to go to school because it's the best option. Or also learning that there's more to the world than just your perspective. It's like, if you don't have to go, bro, if you want to be a grass cutter for the rest of your life, if you have a fixation with pretty lawns, bro, you don't have to go to school. And that's totally fine. Nobody should make you feel guilty for that.
No, they should never make you feel guilty. But I will say that people only know what they know. Mm-hmm. So people only have an idea of what they want to do if that based off of things that they've only been exposed to.
But that's why I got this podcast, and I'm building my academy so that they can be exposed to everything, so that they can choose. See what I'm saying? So that was a good segue to call it a night. Like I said, man, Kaya gonna be with us very often through this segment. We'll try to get on as much as possible.
Yeah, and we didn't really debate that much. I mean,
this is boring. Normally our conversation, we fight all the time.
No, but a lot of times, I mean, we're like-minded individuals with different perspectives. So
right, time out. But time out before we leave. I don't know if it's still recording. We've been arguing on Instagram for 3 days about the Ball brothers. Everybody know me. I'm a big LeVar guy.
But so that makes you have a biased opinion.
I don't have bias for anything. Okay. I'm not a biased person. The only Kaya says.
Wait. Don't put words in my mouth either.
We're gonna let Kaya say what she said. What you said?
No, wait. Tell them what you did first, and then I can tell you what I
posted that.
It was a picture of LeVar
Ball, and I was like, you got my roses because I'm a fan of LeVar Ball and what he's done with his kids and how he treats his wife and how he goes about his business. I don't agree with all the time, but I just love the fact that he propelled his boys to be the best versions of themselves or whatever that may be. And I was giving LeVar Ball credit, and Kaya responded.
So no. Hold on. I'm going to go to your Instagram so we can have accurate, factual. Okay. So he said, got to give him his roses while he's alive. 3 sons with NBA contracts. No love from the community. You get it from me, big dog. Don't ever let them change the narrative.
Oh, yeah. You're right,
okay.
Right.
Okay. So what I responded with was big ups to those guys for capitalizing off of that spotlight. They definitely could have folded. I would give 60% skills, 40% publicity, but all publicity is good publicity. So I guess that rang some bells, and the response I got was, skills are relative. They did good enough, or they did enough to get to the NBA. Unless you say that about every player, then yeah, I may agree with the 60-40. So my point was that I never took their skills away from them, right? I said big ups to all those guys because it was LeVar and his sons, 3 sons that got to the NBA. My perspective was that it wasn't like their skills were good enough to get them to the NBA. Yes. However, would they have gotten to the NBA if it wasn't for their brother coming before them in the spotlight that they retrieved off of their father's shenanigans, right? That's a question neither one of us can answer. But it's just a different. No, you can't. He did though. He answered it, but it's not. It's not. You can't answer it because it's a question that we don't know. So his recant to that, or his response to that, was basically, yeah, I know for a fact they would have because he did this, he did that, blah blah blah, which is all fine and dandy, right? But the fact still remains, we don't know if they would have made it. And
my question was, my argument was that's for most. I won't say every player. That's for most players in the NBA.
But that doesn't make my statement any less true.
So why would you say it? Then why would you just say big ups and leave it at that?
Because I was more thorough, and you can't just limit what I say.
Bro, it's like no, because it's like it diminishes the accomplishment a little bit. To everybody.
You don't know that. No generalizations. Remember.
I'm sorry. You're right. 100%. To the people that responded in my DM that was afraid to address you in publicly. Yes, but at the same time, it's what I was saying for most players is because you got guys that got hype from they were 7 years old and they were ass. The thing about the Ball brothers, why I say it was different for them, was because LeVar didn't get popular until Lonzo last month at UCLA. That's when LeVar got popular, when he started talking.
Because of his dad.
No, Lonzo was always one of the top players in the country, right?
I'm not saying he wasn't.
I'm about to, check me out. LeVar got popular in the NCAA tournament. That's when he started going on the shows. And that's when Lonzo went from top 5 pick to top 3 pick, right? No doubt about it. But the young one, LaMelo, was on everybody's radar since 12 years old, right?
Who is everybody?
People that do this for a living.
Okay.
Right. So everyone knows he was one of the top players in the country since he was 12.
Everybody, no generalizations. Everybody didn't know.
Everyone who recruits and everyone who
or everyone who you knew of.
No, I don't know. I don't know many. I'm talking about like the guys that do the scouting and do the recruiting and rate the players and stuff like that. The mock drafts and stuff.
You don't know that though.
How do I don't?
You don't know.
Follow it.
But you don't know if everybody knew about him.
I'm not saying everybody. I'm talking about the people that scout players and rate players. I can tell you who the top players are coming out for the next 3 years.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Those platforms that do that for a living, that's who was doing. That's what I mean by everybody. The ESPN, everyone, all of those platforms had LaMelo Ball as one of the top players for his class. And the same for Jello. Like, so I was like, this is before LeVar was even known. LeVar amplified it, yes, for sure, but those guys was already solidified.
So, okay. So let me ask you this. Do you know any guys who should have played in the NBA, from your opinion, that did not?
A bunch of them.
Right. Okay. So even though they were good and they could have definitely went to a D1 college or whatever the case may be, that does not guarantee them a spot in the NBA. So my point was
before you get to your point, because what you're saying is 100% true. But those guys that I know that was good enough to play in the NBA, they didn't have those guys were just naturally good. Like Jay Sims. I feel like a guy like Jay Sims.
We all he made it to the NBA.
But we all know he was an NBA player long before he made it to the NBA. But Jay Sims wasn't on these big AAU circuits where they get all the hype. Jay Sims wasn't on these big he didn't go to a big D1 where they get all the hype. So you gotta factor in that in too. And those guys, but those guys were. That's why I say that.
Exactly. And it helped to have your brother that came before you and your father that brightened that spotlight. That was my only statement. Like, they capitalized, because so many people can fold even with the spotlight. So they capitalized on that opportunity, which helped them get there. None of it is bad. My statement was not bad against them. I said ups to those guys that capitalized on that opportunity.
Just good job, guys.
You respond how you want to. I respond how I want.
Because I would have to do that for a lot of NBA players, a lot of NFL players.
But we wasn't talking about them. I was responding to a scroll that I saw on my TL that had LeVar Ball. That's all I was talking about.
Yeah, but it goes back to that whole, I don't want to bring race in it, but it goes back down.
Oh my God.
It goes all the way back down that rabbit hole. And I just like, good job, guys. Like, for 3 kids in the NBA, like BJ was like, yo, he's not the first to do it. I'm like, bro, I'm not comparing nobody.
I mean, okay, if I would have said that, then you can like.
No, but I'm saying, but you see why I probably reacted that way, because so many people was like, yeah, but this, yeah. I'm like, bro, some of you guys that are responding don't even take care of your own kids. So it's like, I'm like, bro.
No comment.
I'm just, bro.
We're going to have to go for a whole nother segment if we talk about that. But
yeah, I'm just like, bro, just be happy for the man, bro. It's like those same people that are attacking this man for little certain things are the same people that saying Black Lives Matter. Whenever a Black life is doing something, if I say the race thing comes in, whenever a black man is doing something nice, it comes with a tag. And that's why I was like, just good guys.
I mean, it's nothing wrong with being thorough, but I don't understand how that response, he wasn't the first to do it, was relative to what your.
But then he responded with, I hate the guy. I'm like, you don't know the guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but
that influenced his response, and your love for the guy influenced your response to me. So
yes, but what I'm saying is, it's a lot of hate for the guy for
it
being
is.
bad.
People have the right.
Not us. The thing is, we can't afford to be tearing each other down when we don't really have to. It's like we got a little.
You know, I'm pro-black.
Yeah.
So I understand it.
We got a little success. We can't. It's almost like when we say, yes, like black on black crime. That's a fiction. It's white on white crime. It's Asian on Asian crime.
Yeah.
But we can't afford it. I don't think that. I won't hold us to a standard that's totally different from everybody else. That's wrong. But at the same time, I can try to influence, like, bro, we don't really got enough lives to be, especially in America. We're on 13% of the population. we don't got enough lives to be sparing, to be messing around shooting nigga over some Air Force Ones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm very cautious when I see success from us and just giving them the credit. Let them mess up. But the whole Nate Robinson thing, it was like, oh, he's stupid. He's a basketball. I'm like, bro, Nate Robinson done something that most of y'all don't do. Take a chance.
Yeah.
So it's like
you can have, and so I guess I'm very, I wouldn't say Switzerland, but Switzerland for the lack of a better term, or, but with statements that people say and, whatever. Sometimes I want to educate them. I can educate them once, maybe. If they take it, cool. If not, whatever. But I just accept people for who they are and where they are. And when I see where they are, I just determine how I'm going to be involved, or how much I'm going to give them access to me. So when I get someone like that, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. That's a good thing. I mean, we kind of going over time, but it's all good. It's I got this one girl, I forget her name, but she came at me for saying, because I don't use the word nigga. Right? I feel it's degrading. It's like I don't like to use bitches. I don't like to use hoes. I just feel like it's degrading. But she's like, well, I heard you say black and white and this and that. You said nigga before. I was like, if I'm around my friends, my core friends, if I'm in Louisiana, if I'm around that language, vocabulary. Yes, I'm using it as a form of communication.
Yeah.
It's like I know who I'm speaking to. So I'm going to speak that way. But no French guy is going to be calling me nigga.
Right.
And I'm not going to be calling them this unless I'm saying it to disrespect you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Then like that's similar to me. So the way that I use it, when I do, I try not to, but it's just a form of, and I hate to say generalizations, but it's not really, but it's never in the form of race. A lot of times it's in the form of males, it's not to say, it's like another word for males.
Right. And the certain males you're talking to.
Right.
And I get it. I'm cool with that. I'm not going to be, I hate this whole woke situation or the
we gotta save something for next time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Get off my line, man. Look, everybody, we're going to thank Kaya for coming in. We're going to shut it down, but Kaya, I appreciate it a whole bunch. We're going to try to get back on as soon as possible, but follow Kaya at, what's your Instagram?
You.don't.know.Kaya on Instagram.
It's a confusing Instagram panel, but yeah, man, that's my sister, man. Love her to death. And we're going to catch up with y'all next time, man. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for having me.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Live a truth life and make them pay.
All right.